Here. Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone. On behalf of the family of Heather, thank you very much for being here with us. It means more than you can possibly know to see this crowd here to celebrate Heather's life. My name is Scott Russell. I am Jerry's cousin, and unusual position. Usually in a family gathering, Jerry is the MC. That's just the way it is. But I feel very honored to be doing that for the family today. And, you know, our family has been through a lot of things, and that's what family is about, the good and the bad. And so, as a family, we're thankful that you're here with us today. Jerry's my cousin, and Heather was my cousin. When you have 40 plus first cousins and over 100 second cousins, and who knows how many third cousins, you just stop counting. They're all cousins. You can't do the math on that. So Heather was my cousin as well, and I'm very thankful that she was. And as we gather here today, I just have a few things to share with you, and then we're going to have some time for you to share as well, and some other things that we want to do together. For my family, if my mom was able to be here with us today, I think she would have a poem that she would want to read, and it's one that she shared probably too many times as a family, because as a big family we have highs and lows, we have great things and tragedy, and yet this poem is one that I can relate to as a father of two girls, one that gives perspective to our role as parents, and a perspective that we shouldn't forget. The poem is called God's Child on Loan, and let me read it for you. It says, "I'll lend you for a little time a child of mine," God said, "for you to love while she lives and to mourn for when she's dead. It may be 6 or 7 years, or 22 or 3, but will you, till I call her back, take care of her for me? She'll bring her charms to gladden you, and should her stay be brief, you'll have these precious memories to comfort you through grief. I cannot promise she will stay, since all from earth return, but there are lessons taught down there I want this child to learn. I've looked this world over in my search for teachers true. In the crowds of this great land, I have selected you. Now will you give her all your love, not think the labor vain, nor hate me when I come to call to take her back again? It seems to me, I heard them say, dear Lord, thy will be done. For all the joys a child shall bring, the risk of grief we'll run. We'll shelter her with tenderness, we'll love her while we may, and for the happiness we've known, forever grateful stay. And should the angels call her much sooner than we planned, we'll brave the bitter grief that comes and try to understand. And I know it doesn't matter how old your child is, they're still your child. And I know for Jerry and Barb and the family, these are hard days. But as family and friends, we want you to know that our support and love for you is only beginning. Please ask us to help in these next coming days and years. Give us that opportunity to help. That allows us to heal as well. And it assures us that you're okay as we have time to spend with you. Even though we cannot walk in the family's shoes, we will walk beside you on this journey that really begins today. And so, for friends and family, I think for us, Heather would probably have a different message. I told Jerry this morning that if she knew I was wearing a suit, she'd probably be upset. However, She'd like my loud tie, so. With her dry sense of humor, she'd probably say, "Scott, move it along, get out of the way, let the party get started." And she'd also not want us to change our relationship with her because of her sudden departure from us. There's a message that a pastor 100 years ago gave, and a little piece of it talks about how we should look at how our loved ones would want us to look at their passing. And let me share that with you. He said, if I were to go, I would tell you that I've only slipped away. I am I, and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you always used to. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the same little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the trace of shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. So friends, as we remember Heather today and we speak about her, let's be certain that we remember who she is to us and our relationship with her, because that remains and that carries forward. And we're thankful for that, so thankful. So at this time, I'm going to ask Jerry to come and share.
Wow. This is truly amazing. I guess I never knew how many lives my daughter touched until something like this happens. And no, it's not supposed to happen this way. But nothing that happened to Heather ever happened the way it was supposed to. My name is Jerry, and I was lucky enough to be Heather's dad. And I'm going to share some of my memories with you, some of the stories. I want you to do that too in a little while. We're going to show some slides here, and after that, I want you to share. Remember the stories that you share with us. We're in mixed company here. I'll want to hear those other stories later, okay? People tell me that I'm a pretty good public speaker, and as Scott would tell you, that a lot of times at family reunions, things like that, I was always asked to get up and speak. And I had no problem with that. This one is a little tougher. People told me that I didn't have to get up and speak today. But at the same time they were telling me that, I got somebody poking me in the back saying, Dad, of course you're going to speak. So I'm going to give it my best, and as long as you'll smile at me, we'll get through this, okay? When Heather was a baby, and she was first learning to talk, she was very upset if she couldn't say a word correctly. She would hold on to your face and watch you say it so she could figure out how you said it, so she could say it. I tried for the longest time to get her to say, I love you. And she would copy what I would say, and I'd say I, and she'd say I, and I'd say love, and she'd just look at me. And I'd say you, and she'd say you. She couldn't say her L's, and because she couldn't say them, she wouldn't say them. So finally I figured out how to get it done. I said I love, and she'd go I love you. That worked. You always wanted to get a hug from Heather, and she'd give you one. and then put both hands in the middle of your chest and say, "I'm done, put me down." She was always on the go. When she learned to walk, she walked 3 steps before she realized it. When she realized it, she turned around and ran back. Pretty much ran ever since. We used to go on camping trips over in Eastern Oregon, Wallowa Lake, different places. I remember a Wallowa Lake trip where she was sitting in a camp chair and a 4-point buck walked up, stuck her nose in her ear. Funniest thing she ever felt, I think. She sat there, her eyes were big as saucers and didn't move. Pretty soon the deer walked off and said, "Must have been something in my ear, smelled good." Another camping trip over in Eastern Oregon where there was a lot of chipmunks. And we were trying to get her to feed the chipmunks some kind of a treat. And so she would sit in a chair and hold a treat out for this chipmunk. I think she sat still the longest for that period ever. She finally got a chipmunk to take something out of her hand. She was just ecstatic about that. She had some nicknames. I always called her Scooter Pie when she was little. She also got the nickname of Hungry Mama because she said that a lot. She'd say, "I'm hungry, Mama." And I'd say, "Hi, I'm Jerry." She'd look at me and say, "Dork." She used that word a lot with me. Her camp name was Cricket at outdoor school. Her cousin used to call her Heber Fitzsimmons. When she started working with kids, she got to be Sergeant Charge, or Sergeant Heather. And somewhere along the line, she gave herself the nickname of Flower. I'm not exactly sure what that's all about, but I think that somebody will be able to give us that story. The other night, Channel 2 News said Heather dreamed of being a teacher. As soon as I heard that, I wanted to call her up and say, she's been a teacher since she was 12. About that time, about the age of 12, is when she started doing child care for the Union Hall. She'd do it twice a month. We had a branch meeting and a steward council meeting where she would come and watch the kids for a couple hours so that our members could come to the meeting and bring their kids. And she loved doing that. She loved being around kids no matter what. But her first paycheck for that month was almost 40 bucks. And it was for 4 hours work. And she went, "Dad, 40 bucks. And I went, "Yeah, that's union scale." $10 an hour, union scale, wow. She was pretty ecstatic. She wanted to know if she could come more often. But she also, every time she had a babysitting job from then on, the first question was, "Do you pay union scale?" She learned that union scale word pretty fast. When she was about 60, this just shows how stubborn she was, but she's only stubborn to a point. She would give up at some point. When she was about 16, we went on a trip down to California. Went to Disneyland and the Redwoods and a lot of different places. And after a couple of days at Disneyland, then we made a trip to the beach. And I don't remember the name of the beach, but I remember that it was a long hike down to the beach area from up where you park the cars. And we tried to get Heather to put on her bathing suit because it was a beautiful day and she would probably want her bathing suit on down there. No, I'm not going to put my bathing suit on. No, it's not going to be that nice. I put my foot in the ocean before. So we hiked all the way down there and got down. She finally walked over and put her foot in that nice warm California ocean and took a deep breath and walked over and said, "Give me the keys." She hiked all the way back up there and got in the van, put her bathing suit on, hiked all the way back down. Gave me back the keys and I said, "Nice walk?" She said, "Shut up, dork." She spent the rest of the afternoon swimming and playing in the water, had a great time. So her stubbornness didn't last all that long. About that same time we went to, there's a picture back there, a little framed 5x7 picture of Heather and I. And that was at a father-daughter banquet that David Douglas put on. And she's got kind of a twinkle in her eye kind of smile on that picture. When I saw the picture, I looked at it and I said, she's got that smile because she believes that she's here with the coolest dad in the place. I found out later that was not the case. She had that smile because she knew her dad was there with the coolest daughter in the place. During those teenage years, Heather and I kind of butted heads a lot. A lot of people said it was because we were too much alike. And I don't know whether that was necessarily true. I think that we were alike until she was about 16 or 17, and then she left me behind. She never stopped asking questions. You know, and it wasn't like the normal kid that goes, why? No, she didn't. She had specific questions, and boy, you better come up with specific answers. Because at some point, at about the age of 13 or 14, she was asking questions that I didn't know the answers to anymore. In fact, I was asking her questions from then on. Like I said, she was a teacher, and she taught me as well. But those years we butted heads a lot. We argued quite a bit. She said, we're not arguing, we're just discussing. It was some pretty heated discussions. But I think I finally grew up and started to understand that Heather was something special. And I better start appreciating it, because it meant a lot to a lot of people, as we can see today. Heather always knew what she wanted. Always knew what she wanted to do, and she had this special knack with children. She'd walk into a room full of unruly, wild, and crazy kids, and with 5 minutes she had them all sitting down doing something, and most of them thought it was their idea. And the rest of them knew better than to talk back to Miss Heather. That's what her kids called her, was Miss Heather. We'd get together on Sundays, and we did it this last Sunday. We'd go to breakfast together, and then she'd come by the house and do arts and crafts things with her mom. She was pretty good at that kind of stuff. She always had a different idea on something, and she loved doing that stuff. We loved to have her hang around on Sundays. A year ago, we made our annual trip to Southern California to visit my mom and dad down in Desert Hot Springs. Now, you wouldn't think that somebody in their 20s would want to go with their dad to visit Grandma and Grandpa. Now, that part I can understand, but to go to this retirement home where the youngest person there was me. Most of my cousins that are there are retired. We've got family, aunts and uncles that are there and retired. More family retired, just moved, bought places down there. A lot of good people down there. But they're all much older than Heather. But she'd go down there and have a great time. She didn't see age as meaning anything more than a number. She could get in a crowd of people, and it didn't matter whether they were this age, or my age, or my dad's age, and she had a great time no matter what. As I said, she had a knack with children. She never found a child she didn't love. She found a few of them she didn't like, but she just loved them more. That was the kind of girl Heather was. And on that annual trip we made to Southern California this last year, one of the last days we were there, we went on a hike. Her grandma and me and her. In a place called the Oasis. And it's a spot where water just comes up out of the ground in the middle of the desert there. And they've planted a lot of palm trees, and it's a beautiful place. But we went looking for something that I had seen before, and it was right on top of the San Andreas Fault right there. So there's a spot where a creek changes direction because of the fault. It's very obvious why, because it's right on the fault line. And when I told her about it, she says, oh, I gotta have a picture of that. She wanted to bring it back to show her kids a true example of the San Andreas Fault. Because everybody talks about faults, but you really can't see them. And she thought that was a great idea. So we hiked all over the place trying to find this place. We never did find it. She was a little depressed about that. And it was our last day down there on that vacation. She was a little depressed about that too. And if you know Heather, she can have a pity party once in a while, but they don't last very long. And this one I knew wasn't going to last very long. But I decided, you know, it's one of our last days there. Just the two of us. We'll go out and have dinner together. So we went and found a nice little Mexican restaurant in Desert Hot Springs, and where there was a guy wandering around with a guitar playing songs for us. I told her it was very romantic. Dork. She But she talked about her life at that point, where it had taken a while to get where she wants to go, and she kind of refocused a few years ago and kind of put a bigger effort into where she wanted to go and what she wanted to do. But she was kind of sad. You know, she says, I don't, you know, here I am, 28 years old, you know, don't have a boyfriend, going on vacations with her dad. You know. I was very happy that about a month later, she started going out with Richard. And if you haven't seen Richard, he's around here somewhere. There he is. I watched her smile get bigger. And that's hard for Heather because she's got a big smile. I watched her smile get bigger. I watched her eyes light up when she'd talk about him. And it was the starting of a wonderful relationship, I think. He started coming to breakfast with us on Sundays. Really enjoyed his company. And she started to blossom. Then something like this happens. You know what? And it can test your faith. Tested mine. How can God do this? Well, I tell you, I found out why. I believe there's a lot of unruly children in heaven. And there's work that needs to be done there, and who better to do it than Heather? There may also be children that arrived there from tragedies. We've heard about tragedies where children lost their lives just recently. And I also think that God needs someone there to take care of those children as well. And who better to do that than Heather? But this has actually made my faith stronger than ever. I have to believe. Because then I know Heather will be waiting for me and all of you when our time is done. She'll be standing there leaning on the pearly gates with her big smile and her arms crossed and foot tapping like this. What took you so long? We should all take comfort in that. I want to thank my family and friends for helping put this on today. I want to thank everyone that's called or emailed or texted or faxed or phone or Facebook or it's been a little overwhelming. But like I say, I didn't realize how many lives Heather had actually touched. And now I know. And there's people there's a gathering going on right now in my hometown up in Stettler, Alberta for Heather because they can't come. My cousin Verna put that together. Heather never gave up on her dreams. When she came up against a barrier, she either found a way around it or knocked it down. And I got to tell you, I plan on living the rest of my life to one simple plan. WWHD. What would Heather do? You run your life that way, too, everything will work out just fine. Thank you all very much for coming today, and thank you all for the support that you've given me and my family and continue to give us. We love you all. Thank you so much.